Hello. Like lots of people, I'm used to turning the clocks forward in the spring and turning them back again in the autumn. I've been doing it all my life, and like most people, I've never really given it much thought, apart from having a vague idea that it was something to do with reducing the use of electricity for lighting and other things. The other morning, I woke up with a question in my head. To be honest, I often wake up with questions in my head, but that's another story. This question was, why do we do this? Who started it? And why do we still do it? That's three questions, but never mind. So I looked into it. By the way, before we move on, if you enjoy this video, please give it a quick like and share it with your friends. The standard explanation is that the practice of moving clocks forward in the spring and back in the autumn, known as daylight saving time, was first implemented on a large scale during World War I. The main motivation was to conserve energy by making better use of daylight hours. So far, so good, but let's dig deeper. The idea of daylight saving was first proposed by Benjamin Franklin in 1784, though it was more of a humorous suggestion in an essay he wrote advocating for more efficient use of daylight. In the late 19th century, serious proposals emerged, particularly from George Vernon Hudson, an etymologist from New Zealand, and William Willett, a British building contractor. Willett published a pamphlet in 1907 advocating for change, though his proposal didn't gain much traction. The first widespread implementation of daylight saving time came during World War I. Germany was the first country to adopt it in 1916 as a way to conserve fuel by reducing the need for artificial lighting. Other countries, including the UK and the USA, soon followed suit. The question I've always asked myself is, why did they do this? Why didn't they just tell people to start work an hour later in the autumn and an hour earlier in the spring? Wouldn't that have been easier than changing the time for the entire country? The reason they did this was that, in fact, it was simpler. If you tell millions of people to change their working hours, some people will do it, some people will forget, some people won't hear or remember the message, others will just get confused. Far easier to change the time itself. Also, this was a period when most people didn't have watches, and certainly not new expensive wristwatches. They depended on public clocks in public buildings, churches, railway stations, and so on, and clocks inside their places of work. Most countries abandoned daylight saving time at the end of World War I, only to reintroduce it again during World War II for similar energy conservation reasons. After World War II, many countries abandoned DST again, but the practice was revived during energy emergencies such as the 1970 oil crisis. There was a time in Britain, for example, when there was double summertime and the clocks moved 2 hours. Since then, many countries have adopted regular DST systems. Nowadays, over 70 countries use daylight saving time, though the dates of changing the clocks may vary. In the United States, DST was standardized in the Uniform Time Act of 1966. European countries, both EU members and non-EU members, switch at the same time. This year, Europe changes on the 27th of October and the US on the 1st of January. Countries near the equator typically don't use DST because the length of daylight doesn't vary much throughout the year. But DST has been a topic of debate for decades, with supporters and critics weighing its benefits and its drawbacks. The main pros are said to be energy conservation, as we've already seen, increased daylight for activities. Longer daylight hours in the evenings encourage outdoor activities, leading to potential improvements in health and mood. The reduction of traffic accidents. Some studies suggest that longer daylight hours in the morning or in the evening can lead to fewer traffic accidents and fatalities, since people are driving more often in daylight. Crime reduction. Crime rates tend to be lower during daylight hours, and extending the evening daylight may help reduce the opportunity for certain types of crime, like robbery and muggings. What about the cons? Well, disruption to sleep and health. 2. Modern studies show that the energy savings from DST are minimal or non-existent in some areas. Three, the economic costs adjustment. Changing clocks twice a year can have economic costs related to disruptions in business operations, particularly for sectors like finance and technology, where international trade synchronization of time zones is crucial. Number four, inconvenience and confusion caused by the changing of the hour. Number five, the impact on farmers and livestock. I mean, while urban areas may benefit from extended daylight at certain times of the day, many farmers have expressed opposition to it as it can disrupt their schedules. Livestock, for example, are not easily able to adjust to changes to feeding and milking times. Number six, limited benefit in some regions. In countries that extend a long way between north and south, there might be benefits in one area but not in another. We live in a very different world now compared to when DST was first thought up and first applied. Not only does everybody have a device which tells them the time, most modern technology will adjust to changes in time by itself without bungling humans making a mess of things. The problem of international coordination is far less important because digital technology can do it all for us. Anyone who's used the calendar of Microsoft Outlook can confirm this. If we add to this the fact that a lot of working patterns have changed enormously over the last 100 years for the majority of people, we can see that a lot of the arguments that are made for and against daylight saving time are becoming less and less relevant. Whatever the pros and cons, one thing's for sure, this argument will run and run. Bye for now.